Welcome to Better Life. Today, we are cracking wide open the science of training your brain for success.
Welcome, focused learners, to this explainer. Get ready, because we're setting the stage for a seriously incredible journey. We're going to look at optimizing your mental performance using actual, hard neuroscience. If you've ever found yourself wondering, what actually separates elite peak performers from the rest of the pack, well, you're in exactly the right place. We're about to decode the actual mechanics of brain optimization, and in the process, we're going to shatter some massive, widely accepted misconceptions. We'll explore how to build literally unshakable mental resilience and fine-tune your mind to naturally attract success.
Okay, let's dive into this because we really need to clear the air right out of the gate. Look, you've probably seen those Hollywood movies or heard the age-old myth that we only use like 5 or 10% of our brains, right? The idea being that if we could just pop a magic pill, we'd unlock the rest. But the reality? Your brain is actually 100% active and engaged all the time. Think about something super simple. Taking a sip of water while looking at someone. Your visual cortex is firing to process the face in front of you, your auditory cortex is picking up background noise, and your kinesthetic system is perfectly coordinating your arms so you don't accidentally smash the glass into your nose. Your entire brain is working constantly. But, and this is crucial, there's a massive difference between a brain that is just working and a brain that is fully optimized. And that brings us to this fascinating concept, the mutual fund of the mind. Now, while your brain is always active, just keeping you breathing and functioning, performance optimization is a whole different ballgame. It's exactly like investing in a mutual fund. If you want profound mental growth, you have to continually invest small, consistent daily challenges into your brain. The moment you start making those deliberate deposits, so to speak, a compounding effect kicks in. Over time, that compounding creates the massive mental growth you actually need to achieve exactly what you want out of life. Now, let's shift gears and look at what the brain actually spends all of its energy doing all day. Just look at this number, 50,000. Research shows that the average human generates somewhere between 50,000 to 60,000 thoughts every single day. That's a lot of mental chatter. A massive study was actually conducted where researchers decided to audit these thoughts. They pulled data from up to 30,000 people, asking participants to continuously log what they were thinking about just to see where all that mental energy was actually going. And this brilliantly illustrates the results of that massive study. When the researchers finally compiled all the data, they were totally shocked. Out of those tens of thousands of daily thoughts, almost all of them loop relentlessly around just 3 core pillars: health, wealth, and work, and relationships. Notice how things like spiritual evolution or a higher purpose barely make up a tiny single-digit percentage. Honestly, this is incredibly freeing. It means optimizing your life isn't about solving a million different complex problems. The formula is actually quite simple. You really just need to optimize your mind for those 3 core areas. To understand how to actually get better in those 3 areas, we have to look at this brilliant metaphor from the research. Imagine Mozart is performing. The music is absolutely flawless, right? It's being transmitted perfectly. But if it sounds terrible on your end, well, you shouldn't blame Mozart. You need to stop and ask if your radio is properly tuned to pick up the transmission. Success, health, and wealth are always broadcasting out there in the world. The opportunities are definitely there, but you have to actively fine-tune your brain's capacity to receive them. The very moment you tune your internal receiver, everything around you suddenly begins to transmit with perfect clarity. So, how do we actually tune that radio? We use something called neurobics. Think of it as, well, aerobics, but for your mind. Neurobics are multi-sensory challenges designed to break up your daily monotony. You see, most people just live on autopilot. We take the exact same route to the office, we eat the same food, we binge the same TV shows. But the data is crystal clear here. Monotony literally kills brain optimization. If you want a high-performing brain, you absolutely must introduce multi-sensory challenges. For instance, go grocery shopping yourself instead of just ordering it online. Actually smell the produce, touch the items, physically navigate the aisles, maybe accidentally buy some weird new vegetable you've never seen before. Or even just move the phone on your desk to the opposite side so your brain has to rewire its spatial memory just to pick up a call. Let me share a really gripping anecdote from the source material that perfectly demonstrates extreme neurobangaics in action. There was an army officer preparing to be posted in Siachen, which is one of the highest, coldest, and absolutely most brutal environments on Earth. He was warned that in such an isolated, freezing place, his brain power might actually decay. Refusing to let that happen, he took on a massive neurobangai challenge. He literally taught himself to mirror write.
That means writing completely backward so that it only reads normally when you hold it up to a mirror, just like Leonardo da Vinci used to do. But get this, he didn't stop there. Once he mastered it with his right hand, he learned to do it with both hands, and then he started doing it in multiple languages. He actively prevented his brain from decaying by forcing his mind to adapt to these intense, totally unnatural sensory challenges.
Now, you don't have to go to sea Achin to optimize your brain, thankfully. The research invites us to adopt 3 highly actionable, data-backed habits that you can start right now, today. First, try just sitting completely silently with yourself for 10 to 30 minutes a day to really activate your internal awareness. Second, start sprinkling physical mismatches into your daily routine. Like if you normally brush your teeth with your right hand, challenge yourself to use your left. Change up your workout routine. Take a totally different route to work. Give your brain that constant, vital sensory stimulation. And third, start focusing on managing your energy rather than just managing your time. In an era where AI and tech save us so much time, the real question is, where are you investing your mental energy? So the crucial point is summarized perfectly by the famous Hebbian formula. Neurons that fire together, wire together. Wherever you deliberately focus your attention, your passion, and your energy, you are physically building and strengthening actual circuits in your brain. Think about when you first learned to ride a bike or drive a car. It took immense focus, and yeah, maybe you fell a few times. But once those neurons fired together enough times, the circuit became completely permanent. You don't have to relearn how to balance every single time you hop on a bike now, right? When you deliberately train your brain through neurobics and deep focus, you build automatic, permanent circuits for resilience and success. Let's move on and see how this builds into real-world performance, specifically looking at the difference between average and elite. Think of a highly skilled tennis player who misses a crucial shot, gets absolutely furious, and just smashes their racket. That's called an amygdala hijack. Basically, their emotional center has completely taken over their brain. Compare that to frontal cortex command, which is exactly where elite performers live. They have developed their frontal cortex, that's the brain's logic and control center, to such a remarkably high degree that they maintain complete emotional resilience and calm, no matter what goes wrong in those high-stakes environments. True peak performers, whether we're talking about top-tier athletes or world leaders, they don't just rely on physical strength or strategy. They actively cultivate a dominant frontal cortex. You might think someone who practices batting for 16 hours a day is living a super monotonous life, missing out on sensory stimulation. But what they are actually doing is relentlessly training their frontal cortex to remain completely unbothered by noise, pressure, and failure. They have incredibly strict regulation over their autonomic nervous system, and that makes them virtually bulletproof against external chaos. This intense level of brain optimization creates what we call unshakable internal wealth. The source material shares this frankly remarkable story of a billionaire businessman from Africa. Over the course of his career, he went completely bankrupt, dropping to absolute zero 3 separate times. But every single time, he almost effortlessly rebuilt his empire. Why? Because, as he put it, he had already built the wealth inside his head. His mental circuitry was so perfectly wired for resilience and success that external losses essentially meant nothing to him. His internal wealth basically guaranteed that his external wealth would always return. And that brings us to the ultimate test of a highly optimized frontal cortex. See, it's not actually about how much money you make, it's about how you handle chaos. The explainer highlights this absolutely fascinating anecdote of an expert speaker who was publicly and aggressively bashed by someone who just walked right into his lecture. Instead of reacting, instead of yelling or getting defensive, the speaker maintained absolute zero change in his body language. His physiology literally didn't shift at all. He kept total internal peace right in the middle of being completely disrespected. That is the absolute pinnacle of frontal cortex control. The truly most powerful people are the ones who can stay completely calm when they are being disrespected. Which leaves us with this final incredibly important thought to reflect on. Are you capable of staying completely calm when disrespected? Can you keep your internal radio perfectly tuned when the entire world around you is just broadcasting static? Your brain is fully capable of this level of elite performance, but only if you put in the daily work to actually challenge it. Start your neurobiology training today. Brush with your other hand, change up your routines, and intentionally build that unshakable frontal cortex. The power is already in your head. Now it's time to wire it for success.